How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, good to see you. It's been a while.
It has been. So
It was,
catch me up. What's going on?
um, yeah, so since we last spoke, in terms of like what I decided is I ended up getting enlisted in the Air Force. And then well, right now I'm just in this kind of, I guess I would say limbo land where I'm just waiting to get a job. And then once I get the job, I get sent away straight to Texas. So I start basic training, and then after I finish basic, I'll get sent off to my permanent duty station for my pretty much 4-year commitment. And then so I could either end up in Texas, Mississippi, Ohio. It'll just be dependent on where the job is located. And then in the meantime, I've just been kind of like waiting to hear from my recruiter because everything at this point is just completely outside of my control and out of my hands. So my recruiter could like message me about the job today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and then I could like get sent out immediately. So uh that's been the unfortunate part. But and then um I've also like done some cooking lessons, um and then just trying to figure out where my next source of income will be until then. And
So
then just
are,
chilling
are
at
you,
home.
are you doing Army, Marines, Air Force,
Uh, Air Force.
Air Force?
Yep.
Well, that'll take care of your immediate dollars and cents for 4 years, right? That'll
Yep.
give you some breathing room to figure out what you want to do with your life, and where your purpose is and what what makes sense to you. It's hard to make up your mind when you're in the moment distracted by I've got bills to pay. That gets in the way of thinking about the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, and then I also have like cause the thing I was thinking about mostly is that I know if I pick this path, like I feel like it'll help me the most, like in terms of just developing as a person, because like a lot of the people I kind of admire and like and they're in real estate because I ultimately just want to be like an investor. Like I don't want to really be so much an entrepreneur. The more I think about it, I mean, I don't mind doing some like entrepreneurial stuff on the side, but I
Right?
don't think it would be like a main passion of mine. Um, and so I thought like this path would help me the most because like a lot of a lot of people, at least from my observations, a lot of the most successful people that I personally know have been like former military. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, maybe I should go down this route. Not to mention it could like set me up for the rest of my life, if I do the whole 20 years. Um, so I was kind of looking at it from like the short term and the long term view.
Excuse, excuse me, my voice is a little tickly.
No worries.
So the thing about um, the military is it gives you clarity. It gives you discipline. You're working within a structure and you learn to follow process and procedure and standard operating procedure, and all of that discipline is designed to focus your attention and you know work within work within an established model. So whether you do it on your own or whether you do it for someone else, you have that underlying operational aspect to contend with. And That's very helpful. You know, when you go in and say, and you go into the service and you're looking for that kind of um, learning and experience with an open mind, realizing that there's going to be shitty days and there's going to be good days. Um, all of that, is part of the whole thing. It's all part of dealing with the ups and downs and the variability of it. I'm glad you're doing the Air Force because Army and Marines is like they shoot at those people. The Air Force, the Air Force, you can be back in the in the distance a little bit. You're not really on the front line of anything if it heats up and gets weird. Um, but be that as it may, it's still the structure of the organization.
Mhm. Yeah, and we have a nickname that a lot of people go refer to us as the chair force.
Air Force.
No, chair force.
I know, I get it, I get it.
But yeah, and then I also wanted to ask you because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned that you were married, right?
I am 44 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Um and so like one of the things I was wondering about because recently I had like sold my car and then I went on a trip to Minnesota to hang out with a lady friend and
Huh?
I had some relations. And I was just thinking like I guess in the long term, like what are like some of the I guess principles or the foundation for like your relationship that have let you be, successful in that regard?
So marriage is not an easy thing. And, when I commit to do something in my life, whatever it is, whether it's my business, I've had my business for 51 years, starting 52 years. I've been married for 44 years. Um, Last car I had was 25 years before it fell apart and I had to buy a new one. Right. So when I commit to something, I'm all in and I'm committed to it. That means for better and for worse. And I think the major issue that I see in society today with marriage is the most successful marriages I've observed have had a faith based component to them, something that's bigger than the two people. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter whether it's Christian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever the religion is. There's a faith there. There's a belief in a higher spirituality that overshadows, everything. And um, and then as a result of that, it's like, okay, you made this decision to be with this person, and in the beginning, it's everything is all great, it's all good, it's all touchy feely, it's everything is wonderful. There's the excitement of a new relationship. There's all those um, I don't know the right word uh, that I want to use for this. Um, but it's not super deep. It's not it's a more shallower on the surface, very emotionally pitched. So there's high highs and there's low lows. And um, when you get married and you go past the first 5 or 6 years, uh, it changes dramatically. And it changes because you realize that your partner is with you and you're with your partner. And they're counting on you and I'm counting on them, right? And so when things get bad, they're there to support me. When things get bad for them, I'm there to support them. And it's not easy at all. My wife and I were married 30 plus years before we ever took a personality test. And turns out that our personality types are 100% opposite in all four categories that we measured.
Hmm.
Exactly the opposite. So we can have a knockdown, drag out, yell at each other fight, and we'll be saying the same thing. And it's like, what the hell? Right. And it just teaches you perspective. It teaches you an understanding of, where you are and um, what's happening, you know, and it teaches you tolerance. You know, you just basically have to step back and take a breath and go, is this worth fighting over? Is this worth, is this worth negative energy around this? You can be annoyed. There's no question about that. And you will get annoyed. But it is what it is. And you just have to get through it. And you have to have some perspective of why you're getting through it. Why is this, if you have a fight, or you get really upset with each other, somebody does something, they let you down or you let them down. What does that mean? What's the line in the sand that says no more? Right. And I think too many people today, um, they either don't have a line in the sand at all. So when something bad happens, then it's like, I'm done, I'm out. Right. But when you realize that there's no going back, you have to make amends. When my kids were growing up, they would fight with each other. And what we'd do is we'd make them hold hands together when they were mad at each other until they got unmad. And that taught them how to, even though I'm emotionally wound up in this and I'm mad as hell at you, mom and dad aren't going to let us apart until we resolve this issue. And I don't think very many people today, they don't have the attention span, they don't have the commitment, they don't really understand what they're committing to. And again, this is a faith-based kind of thing, because in a faith-based relationship, the concept of marriage is really one of the major tenets of a traditional nuclear family. It's what's been, a foundation of civilization for the last, 5,000 years. And I think that as we move away from that, we lose that foundation of why you want to be with someone. So uh, it's a big, big deal to figure it out, and and to move forward with it. And it's kind of like, now is the time for you. If you're going into the military and you potentially could be going overseas, and you're not currently in a fully committed relationship, it's going to be super hard to maintain that relationship moving forward. If she stays here and you go away and it's just getting started, it's really going to be hard to maintain that connection, because the connection grows over time. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's going to be more difficult than easy.
And then I would also ask that, like, just for any relationship in general, friendship, romantic, whatever,
Right.
how do you know when you are just going through a rough patch versus like you should let go of that person?
Well, again, ask yourself at the beginning, what's your end plan? What's your end goal here? What's your exit plan? Right? If you're buying, when you're in business, I ask people right at the very beginning, what's your exit? Are you going to sell your business? Are you going to retire from your business? Are you going to turn it over to your kids? Are you going to merge with somebody else's business? What are you doing? What are you doing with your business? And nobody thinks that far ahead. They're thinking in the moment. Like, I want to be with this person. I really like her. She gets me, right? That could all be an act on the front end, intentionally or unintentionally. Because when you get to really know somebody, then a lot of times when you really get to know that person, it's not the person you thought that you were with. And I know that in our relationship, we were 15 years in, 10 years, 12 years in, and something came out about her past that if I'd known about in the beginning, I probably wouldn't have gotten married. And it was significant. It changed our relationship for the next 10 years. And it was really difficult to come back from that. And again, it's like knowing the person. Do you really know that person? And what is it about that person that really makes you say that you want to spend the rest of your life with that person? Think of the gravity of that. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, right? That's like going to prison with no parole. We're in it forever. That's the only thing I can think of that has that level of, of gravity, of consequence to it. And somebody said one of the classic jokes is, how long have you been happily married? About 4 years. And the wife goes, we've been married for 14 years. And he said, but he said happily married. And it's only a married couple would get that joke. Um, but it definitely can be the truth. It can definitely be the truth. And it's like these are the kinds of things that you have deep conversations about before you get married. What are you looking for in a husband? In an ideal world, what is an ideal husband to you? You know, well, it's somebody that's 6'1" and makes 200,000 a year, and drives this kind of car. And it's like, okay, you know what? That's social media talking. That's not reality talking, right? And that's all material things, that's all consumption. If it focuses around things, then it doesn't have much hope moving forward because those things are all dependent on where you are in life at any given point. So if everything's good, everything's great. But okay, I'm out of a job and I didn't make the house payment and they're going to foreclose on the home and our credit rating just went into the toilet because I'm late on the loan and blah, 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 right? Somebody that is with you for who you are, the material part doesn't matter. They're gonna be with you no matter what. So I can only share my experiences. I'm not giving you advice. I don't give relationship advice because everybody is different. And I think the key thing is you know whoever you're with, ask yourself a simple question: are they the first one to a party and the last one to leave, or the last one to the party and the first one to leave? And how does that compare to who you are? So if you're the first one there and the last one to leave, and she's the first one there and the last one to leave, you're both extroverts. If you're the last there and the first to go, and you don't want to talk to people, you just kind of mingle around, small talk, you're an introvert and she's an extrovert, that's going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue.
Mm.
Just those kinds of things. They ask, what do you like? What do you like in life? What are the things that you remember growing up that are the most positive memories that you have? And what are the things growing up in your life to this point that have been the most negative memories that you've had? And if they were negative, how would you have changed that? Is there anything that you could have done to change that? If they look at it and say, oh my God, everything was great until my dad died. And then once my dad died, everything went to hell. Well, you know what? Your dad passing is an inevitable situation. It happens to all of us. And if you look at it like none of us are going to make it out of this alive, then when that person passes, they didn't die. They just passed to a higher level, right? And you can call that a higher energy state. You can call that heaven. You can call that nirvana. You can call it whatever you want. But their life force and their soul and their spirit doesn't die. It lives on. My experience in life has absolutely showed me that on multiple occasions. So you realize that they physically may not be here, but their energy and their spirit and their soul remains forever. And again, you go back and you look at the vast majority of religions around the world, they have some definition of what happens after they physically leave this plane that we're in here. Um, so those kinds of things, if they look at it like some event is going to fundamentally change their life and they can't recover from that, that that's a victim role. You're allowing the circumstances or the events or other individuals influence and control the direction that you have moving forward. if they say, the hardest memory I have is when my dad died, it was brutal. I missed him so much. I missed talking to him every day. He was such a mentor to me. He was such a guide. His wisdom was there, and I missed that so much. But after a few weeks, I realized as much as I missed his mentorship and his guidance in our conversations, I wasn't going to go on my whole life without that. So I needed to find some other way, and some other person to connect with that I could have those conversations with. My life is continuing, even though my dad has passed to another direction. That's that kind of outlook on life is the kind of outlook that you're looking for. And I think today we're inundated with the media and the propaganda of the media that is designed to limit your thinking. It's designed to limit your possibilities. It's designed to always make somebody else the bad guy, and that bad guy is having an influence on your life. It's like, you know what? That guy may be a bad guy, but it's my life. I make the decisions here. If I don't like what he's doing, I'm going to change my circumstance. I'm not going to ask him to change, right? This is a big thing with women is they'll say, he's not perfect, but I'll change that. That's never going to happen. You are who you are. And then this becomes a big issue. They run out my wife. My wife is the kind of person that's always waiting for permission. She's waiting for permission to start something. She's waiting for permission to go on a trip. And I said, you're in control of your life. If you want to go on a trip, then make a decision that you're going to go on that trip. Whether you go on it yourself or whether you go on it with someone else, you make that decision. And then if you say, well, I don't have any money because I'm not working. Well, you know what? Get a job and earn some money. Don't wait for somebody to give it to you.
Hmm.
And I think, having a military experience will really help you in understanding accountability and responsibility, what that means, and how to communicate that. Um, you know, in the military, it's going to be do as you're told. We're going to tell you what to do. They need that if they're going to have a fighting force that's responsible, right? But your lesson is, how does that make you feel? Am I okay with that? Am I in agreement with that? You signed up for this. You signed up for this. You signed up for the military. You signed up for that level of accountability and responsibility. Same thing with marriage, same thing with a business, same kind of deal. You agree to something and you stick with what you agree to. It's hard to do that. There's no question it's hard to do it. That's why so many people are struggling today. They don't have the tools to do what they need to do.
You gave me a lot to think about.
Well, that's why you call me.
Yeah,
I'm always going to give you a lot to think about.
that's good though.
Well, I mean, they're important things at an important time in your life.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. I'll just have to look at the recording of this one.
Yeah, you will. There's a lot here. So when is your enrollment start?
So I'm already enlisted, so at this point I'm just waiting to get a job. So like so at this point I'm just sitting at home till I get an assignment that I'm like approved for.
Got it. And did they give you any choice in areas that you're interested in or anything like that, or you just take what you get?
Um so basically the way it works is um with everybody in the military, you have to take the HAZVAB first, which is basically a test which says what type of jobs you're
That's,
qualified
that's
for. Yeah. And then from there, it gives you like based on how you score, these type of jobs are available to you. And then they have only so many slots available for each of those jobs. So like for example, just for example's sake, let's say every year they hire 25,000 people. And so if 500 of 500 for that job that you want is taken, you basically just kind of wait around till there's an opening for that position, or you take something else that's available. So like right now, everything that I want is taken. And so I'm just waiting to see, what opens up that. And also too, like it's not like they just throw you in a job. Like you have to accept that you want to do it as well, because it's a 4 year commitment. So whatever I say yes to, I'm doing for 4 years. So I want to at least like it or at least be neutral towards it. I don't want to do something that I hate because,
so what
you
happens
know,
now? You're enlisted and your ideal jobs don't come up for how long? How long do you sit around waiting until they say, okay, none of your things came up, you're doing this, whether you like it or not?
it it really you could be waiting a while or it could be short. So like one of the other people in my group have been waiting for a job for like 9 months.
Wow.
Um, one other person they accepted. There was another person in my group. He accepted a job in July, and he's now getting sent off to his station in October.
Mhm.
Um, so but also they do have the option to do what we consider a quick ship,
Mhm.
which means you accept the job and then they send you out next week. They always like whenever they ship out people, they generally send you on a Tuesday. But
Mm.
so yeah, the quickest that let's say everything is perfect, I could get sent out in a week from the time I accept a job. That's like the quickest that it could possibly be. Some of them, certain jobs though, have a little bit more, should I say, I guess, red tape behind them.
Well,
So, like,
could be classroom time, could be a whole bunch of things.
yeah, like some of them, like one of the jobs I was told, like, oh, it's like a 6 month wait list, plus you have to pass an interview and some extra screening that they do. So it's also too dependent on the job. So I'm of course trying to take, the job I could get in the quickest so I could get paid and also not be at home, doing nothing.
Right.
So
Well,
it's a interesting place to be. I'll say.
so keep me kind of posted via email or whatever how things go for you so I can kind of keep tabs on you along the way.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah, that's cool. And then I'll send you over the recording as soon as it's done here in the next 15-20 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, congratulations, and I'm sure it's going to work out great for you.
And thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for always being the coolest friend ever.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. All right, take care, Thurman.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.